Señores y señoritas, welcome to the Kāhala Waiʻalae Neighborhood Board. It is our pleasure to have you here this evening. Mr. Peter Dudgeon, I do believe you are on the wrong side of the barricade. Let's see, tonight is Thursday. I was here yesterday, Wednesday, and I learned that there's a lovely ballroom dancing class that is hosted here on the Wednesday before us. So walked away with a little bit of a lovely box step, but let's get down to business. First up, we have quorum this evening, which is great. City and state monthly reports. Do I have a representative from the Honolulu Fire Department? A representative from the Honolulu Fire Department? Going once. Going twice. Up next, Honolulu Police Department. Do I have a representative from the Honolulu Police Department? Going once. Going twice. Lorna from the Board of Water Supply, are you here this evening?
Hi, can you folks hear me?
Hi, Miss Lorna. How are we doing this
Okay.
evening?
I'm doing good. I have a really quick announcement this month. Sorry, I can't multitask here. Okay, here we go. So the announcement I have this month, it's about general announcement is that the Board of Water Supply needs your kokua now. So if you want to please reduce your water usage by 20%, lower than normal rainfall and high water demand can impact our water supply. So while we're good for now, here are some simple ways that you can ensure we have fresh drinking water now and into the future. So if you turn off the tap while brushing teeth, washing hands, or shaving, also shorten showers by a few minutes, use a garden nozzle on your hose and irrigate early in the morning to reduce evaporation. So even if small changes make a big difference, so let's work together to make every drop count. And if you want more tips in conserving water, visit our website at www.boardofwatersupply.com. That's all I have for tonight. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a personal comment from a Board of Water Supply interaction I had this week. One of my crews was excavating out at Ala Moana, and silly them, they hit a water pipe. And the Board of Water Supply was down there shortly. You guys did an excellent job, had everything all patched up and ready to roll. There was Renata Preston and Dane Ogawa.
Renata Preston and Dane Ogawa. They're awesome.
And they were incredible. So they did an excellent job, and just really nice to see that department working so well together. And you guys had like 4 trucks on the scene within an hour.
Yeah.
It was
Can
great.
You repeat which break that was at?
That was at Ala Moana on Kona Street.
On Kona Street. Well, I'm glad.
Yeah, there was an unmarked water main. No, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. But excellent professionalism over there. Thank you guys so much.
I'll let them know. Thank you.
Please do. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, Board of Water Supply? I think we're all good. Miss Lorna, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Right. Bye, everybody. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening. Casey Abe, are you here this evening, Department of Transportation?
Okay, good evening, Chair Christian and members of the Waiʻalae-Kāhala Neighborhood Board, KCR from the State DOT Highways. In last month's meeting, I mentioned about the graffiti artists are still out there, but fortunately, during my field inspection last week and emails with pictures from our maintenance staff, they managed to paint over the graffiti. During my field inspection, I noticed a lot of trash along the Waiʻalae Avenue off-ramp along the H1 freeway eastbound along the fence line. I'll have our maintenance crew clean up the trash. During my October 6th field inspection, I witnessed our maintenance crew patching the potholes that I mentioned at last month's meeting. Also, during last month's meeting, there were concerns about additional potholes at the Kilauea intersection, which I found during my field inspection. So I'll be working with our maintenance crew on patching those potholes. In last month's meeting, I mentioned I did a quick field inspection during the morning of the September 18 meeting and saw a tree on the eastbound on-ramp that needed to be trimmed before it causes an accident. I'm glad to report that on Saturday morning, September 20th, I received an email with a picture showing the slide that our maintenance crew had trimmed the tree. Back in 2003, the board passed a resolution regarding the 10 planter boxes on the H1 viaduct above Waiʻalae Avenue. The planter boxes has been an eyesore to the traveling motorists, especially with the overgrown weeds, which has been a maintenance problem for the state highways. Since the Highways Division cannot maintain the existing landscape, with input from a former board member, the current plan is to concrete the area around the existing rocks to prevent vegetation growing and causing an eyesore. At a previous meeting, the board gave approval of this proposed plan to pour a concrete cap over the existing soil around the existing rocks to minimize vegetation growth. The negative part about this design is that we had to ensure that all the rainwater is captured within the planter box. We did not want to allow the rain runoff flow over the edges of the planter box and onto Waiʻalae Avenue, which may cause a safety problem. Under the current seismic retrofit construction project, our contractor is installing a fiber reinforced polymer coating inside of the planter box. We are trying to incorporate our proposed plan to cap the planter box with concrete as a change order to our current construction project. I'll report back at a future meeting if we can incorporate this change order. At last month's meeting, I mentioned about the homeless encampment under the Waiʻalae Nui Stream Bridge on the eastbound on-ramp to Kalana Highway. Also, during my field inspection last week and this morning, I noticed additional homeless people along Waiʻalae Avenue and by the pedestrian overpass. Per our homeless coordinator, he's coordinating a joint cleanup by the end of October or early November with the city and county to clear the encampment in the Waiʻalae Nui Stream Bridge area. Unfortunately, the state and county is limited as to what we can do with the homeless, especially if they refuse any help. We can only tell the homeless that they cannot set up camp within the state or county right away and require them to move. But as soon as our staff leaves the area, the homeless returns. And finally, at last month's meeting, there was a concern about a red light speed camera system where motorists received their citation in the mail from a company located on the mainland, thinking it's a scam. Talking to our program manager, it has been corrected. So future citations will be using a Honolulu address. Also on October 15th, Star Advertiser, in the Kukua line by Christine Donnelly, the warning period for the red light traffic cameras can also catch motorists speeding through the intersection, which will end on October 31st. And starting October 1st, official citations and with fines will be mailed out to violators who speed through the intersection. Citations will be issued for the motorists speeding more than 11 miles per hour over the posted speed limit, and the cost per citation range from $167 to $317. The red light citation will cost you $92. And yes, motorists can receive both a red light running citation and a speeding citation for the same incident. So when the traffic light turns yellow, motorists should slow down and stop instead of trying to accelerate to get through the intersection and risk receiving a citation or two in the mail. This concludes my report. I can take any questions at this time.
Casey, every time you present, I just want to clap when you finish. This is exceptional work. Thank you so much for following up on all these things. Does anybody have any questions, comments? Casey Abe, Department of Transportation.
I've got one, Casey. In the case of the yellow lights, they range in how long the yellow lights are on. And is there any talk about standardizing that, or how is it set? Is it related to speed in that area, or how can people predict if they're going to make it through or not?
Well, I guess in this case here, normally the city and county takes care of our timing of the lights. But from my understanding, the yellow light is based on the length or the width of the intersection. So once your car enters the intersection and it turns yellow, it normally stays yellow until you can get across. But again, I'm not very sure on that. We would have to ask the city and county who takes care of the traffic signal. As for our red light running, and if your car enters the intersection on yellow and then it turns red, from my understanding, you will not get a citation. It's only if you enter the intersection when it's red, you will get a citation.
Thank you.
Perfect. Does anybody in the community have any questions, comments for Mr. Casey Abe from the Department of Transportation? Beautiful. Casey, thank you again so much for your time this evening. It is greatly appreciated.
Yeah, thank you.
Circling back real quick, any representatives from the Honolulu Fire Department? Any representatives from the Honolulu Police Department? All right, on we go. Filling of board vacancies, sub-district number 2, which is, raise your hand if you're sub-district 2. Is that Colin? Are you online with us?
Yeah, but I'm sub
Believe-
district 1.
You're District 1?
Yeah, and I think the vacancy is in 1 as well.
Okay, yeah. You're 2? Does anybody in either District 1 or District 2 have any interest in joining the board? Does anybody want to seize the reins and mantle of power and crush a neighborhood to their will? Not tonight. All right. Up next, any reports of members' attendances at other meetings? Oh my God, you guys are making this easy tonight. Thank you. Up next, elected official reports. Ms. Patty Jetty from the governor's office, the governor of Josh Green. Are you here this evening?
Aloha, my kako. I am here. Hello.
Good evening, Patty. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I hope you're all well as well.
Oh, yes, indeed.
I'm going to paste a link to the governor's newsletter in the chat. And I'd like to report back on an issue that came up last meeting, and it's come up a few times on the Department of Education property on 22nd Avenue. I did hear back from the Department of Education, and so I'll just read to you what I heard back from them. The department strives to be a good and respectful neighbor, and we appreciate the patience of the community. Janitors have been clearing the Pu'u Panini Avenue sidewalk outside the property fence line 3 days a week to keep the sidewalk clear of debris. We will continue to review our procedures to see where improvements can be made. Spot removals of tree branches and green waste were made on the Labor Day weekend with the assistance of a small group of volunteers. Hawaii's Department of Education Facilities Maintenance Branch is soliciting external contractors to maintain the foliage outside the fence line, which will include removal of fallen branches, leaves, and trash. Site visits will be made in the next 2 weeks to set the contract scope and scheduling details. High DOE is also working to secure green waste bins, green waste pickups, and to relocate shipping containers on the property. We thank the neighbors for their patience and support and will work to resolve the issues as quickly as possible. So with that, please let me know if you have any questions about that or any other issues that I can take back to the governor's office.
I appreciate this progress on this issue. I know this has been an outstanding one for us for the past couple of months. So
Yeah.
please thank the DOE for making some moves on this. If there's any way that we can get any of the community members over there, even myself, as a part of the scope setting process for this contract, I'm sure they would be very open to that since they're the ones being affected and they know exactly what's going on over there and how it can best be addressed for the surrounding community. I think that would be
Okay.
very helpful.
I'll bring that back to them. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And then I apologize. I saw your email this evening regarding the photos. So I apologize for not responding to that.
Oh, no worries. We got an answer, so that was good.
Perfect. Okay. Anything else on the governor's office side this evening?
Not from my end. I'm just here to listen and take back any questions you all have.
Beautiful. Does anybody on the board have any questions for Ms. Patty Jetty, governor's office? Does anybody in the community have any questions for Ms. Patty Jetty, governor's office? Ms. Patty Jetty, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you all.
Have a good one.
Sure.
Up next, Office of the Mayor, Mayor Rick Belangiardi. Do we have a representative from Mayor Rick Belangiardi's office this evening? Oh. All right. No worries. Up next, Councilmember Tommy Waters. Do we have a representative from Councilmember Tommy Waters' office?
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hello, Tasha. How are you doing this evening?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you. So good evening, Chair and members. I have just a few updates. Following up on the homeless encampment on Waiʻalae Beach Park, excuse me, that was brought up during last month's meeting. We did follow up by inspecting the beach the next day, and we did observe the encampment. So we reached out to the city, and the Department of Facility Maintenance investigated the concern, and the encampment removed their personal belongings and left the area. DFM's Stored Property Ordinance Branch cleared the area of any remaining trash and debris, and the Department of Community Services has been notified. State DLNR says its still care officers also do regular clearing of this stretch and report they just cleared the area last month, and they will aim to clear this area again in November. Regarding the home at 4041 Waiʻalae, DPP says an inspection was done on September 8th and revealed that NOV has not been corrected. A building permit application to address the building code violation is in plans review, and as of yet, the NOV has not been referred for civil fines or notice of order. The DPP inspector was not able to access the interior of the property since the windows and doors were covered in plywood. Mayor Blanchard recently signed 2 bills sponsored by Chair Waters and Councilmember Okimoto that raise the amount of homeowners can claim for exemption on total assessed value to $140,000 and $180,000 for kupuna. Finally, 2 important resolutions that passed October's full council meeting. Resol 25-279, introduced by Chair Waters, reaffirms its strong and ongoing support for the May 9th, 2023 Unified Statement on Red Hill and the efforts of the Red Hill Water Alliance Initiative, and stands with our community to demand access to clean, safe water now and for generations to come. And Resolution 25-280, introduced by Chair Waters, Council Members Kia'aina and Tupola, supports and reaffirms Kamehameha School's mission and its contributions to the Native Hawaiian community. And with that, I'm happy to take back any questions or concerns to Chair Waters.
I do have a question for the DPP inspector who went to 4041 Waiʻalae Avenue. In terms of civil fines, there seems to be a large amount of trash, mattresses, refuse, and just general disgust flowing out of the house onto the streets. So in terms of civil fines, if I'm driving and I throw a wrapper out the window, I get pulled over, I get a fine. But there seems to be large amounts of trash impacting the surrounding neighborhood that is literally spilling onto the street. And in terms of accessing the house, I find it hard to believe that they were unable to access the house when every homeless person in the area seems to be able to stroll in and out of that property at ease. So if you can ask them kindly to check again and to maybe try a little harder on the second time. Put a little oomph in it, perhaps.
Okay.
They might find a little bit more success, or they can ask one of the 12 homeless people I saw there the other day to simply invite them in and give them access to the property, because it is unbecoming of our neighborhood, the state of that home, and it is dangerous. And the DPP, as part of their commitment to the community, should be able to do something about it, instead of talking back and forth for 5 to 6 months at a time, as we've been doing with the fencing along. Which one was that? Was it 949? 949 Kealolo Place. So if you can pass along my dissatisfaction, that would be most appreciated.
For sure, will do.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Does anybody on the board have any questions, comments for Ms. Tasha? Anybody in the community have any comments, questions, concerns for Ms. Tasha from Council Member Tommy Waters' office? I think we're all good. Ms. Tasha, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you so much. Good night.
You have a good one. Up next, I don't even know why I bother asking, but Representative Mark Hashem, do you have any representatives here this evening? On we go. Up next, Ms. Tina Grandetti, House District 20. Are you here this evening? Any representatives here this evening? All right. Up next, Senator Stanley Chang. Do you have any representatives here this evening? Oh my God, they must be working so hard, so busy. All right. Up next, Resident community concerns, it is your time to be heard. If we have concerns, community things we need to discuss, 3 minutes limit, but please step up to this microphone over here. Please introduce yourselves, state your concerns, state the thing that you would like to discuss, be heard, and we will see how we can best help. Does anybody have any community concerns? Let's see. No, so that will go under new business. So when we come to that item, if there are any people who would like to discuss support, opposition to that, when that item is brought up, we will then discuss it at that time. So if you are here for Shangri-La, please hold until new business, but I do love the involvement, the engagement. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to discuss in the community? Going once, going
Aloha.
twice?
Hello, may I speak?
Oh, I
Aloha, Chair.
hear two people, I believe. Dallin Cam, and I believe I heard a woman.
Aloha, Chair.
Oh, Lisa Yamamoto. Let's go with Lisa first, and then Dallin, let's get you second, okay?
Thank you. Aloha, Chair and members of the board. Mahalo for allowing me a moment to speak this evening. I'm representing on behalf of Kapiolani Community College, and this is not a concern, but more of an announcement to the community and the public, and an invitation to you and our community about an upcoming open forum for our finalists for the position of the Vice Chancellor for Administrative Services. This position plays a key role in overseeing the facilities, buildings, and grounds of our campus, as well as ensuring the safety and security of our students, employees, and visitors. So because of this importance, we welcome the participation of our community and the public in this public open forum. The open forum will be held on Wednesday, October 29th from 11 a.m. to noon at Kapiolani Community College in the NIO building, room 202A. It's an opportunity for members of the public, the community, faculty, staff, and students to meet the finalist, Barry Collins, ask questions, and share feedback. If you need more information about the finalists and the forum, information can be found on our campus website, kapiolani.hawaii.edu. And that's it. We warmly welcome your participation and appreciation and continued support for Kapiolani Community College. Mahalo.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that announcement, Lisa. For those of you who haven't had the opportunity, KCC has one of the most beautiful all-native gardens in the islands, as well as a beautiful cactus garden. So it is a gem of our community. If you have time, please go by. Please walk around. The grounds are gorgeous. Also, the best college experience I ever had. So you miss.
All right, alumni.
Lisa,
Hello.
the date was 10/29, was it?
Yes, October 29th at 11 a.m. to
October
noon.
11 a.m. to noon. And that was the NEO
Yep.
building, you said, 202A?
NIO, N-A-I-O.
NAIO. Beautiful. Thank you.
Mahalo.
All right. Perfect. Thank you, Lisa. Dallin, are you still here?
Yes, I am.
Please go right ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Aloha board. Seeing as I guess everybody has seen that Skyline Phase 2 has just opened, I am very happy that there is a significant increase in public transit service, bus service, especially along our express corridors. However, I am greatly disappointed to see that there is zero improvements to our main routes, especially the one that serves our neighborhood, Route 1, which disappointingly, while Skyline runs until 10:30 p.m., in that same time period, the train comes about once every 15 minutes there. The Route 1 only comes every 30 minutes, and that's if it comes on time. And so I would really like to see if the people that oversee the bus would be willing to look into increasing bus frequency, not just in the early morning, but also in the late evening as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Dylan. All right. So just to make sure I'm understanding the ask correctly, you are looking to expand the services of the #1 route, which I believe comes along Kahala Mall, is it?
Yes.
And you're looking to expand that route. It already has heavy
Um,
provisions in the morning, but you're looking for evening expansion as well.
yes, increase of service frequency, basically.
Increase of service frequency. And in terms of your recommended increase, do you have an idea of how much you would like to see that increased?
20 to 25 minutes would be nice.
Every 20 to 25 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. And then just so I know, do you know about how often it runs right now?
Every 30 minutes, at late night.
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. Anything else, Dylan?
Nope. Thank you very much.
Marvelous. For those of you who don't know Dylan, very involved young community member. Are you landscape architect or School of Architects?
No, I'm just in the School of Architecture right now, yeah.
School of Architecture has a fantastic Instagram which documents all of the public services and public infrastructure for the bus, Skyline, all that stuff. So you should definitely check it out. Thank you so much for your time, Dylan. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the shout out. Not there right now to enjoy the new segment, but I will when I get back.
No worries. Are you in Germany right now?
Yes, I am. I actually just came back from Amsterdam, so I was able to experience a lot of really cool urban planning, especially with cycling, all that. So I got a
Awesome.
lot of knowledge with me coming back home.
Perfect. Well, we look forward to hearing that feedback and how we can improve our public infrastructure right here in Kahala. So thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. We are going to take a quick 5-minute break. I will be right back, and then we will continue. Thanks. All right. Thank you all so much for that 5-minute break. We are going to backtrack for 1 second. We are lucky enough that one of our local representatives has enough energy, enough time, and enough care to show up here in person, which is a rare, rare treat. Miss Tina Grandinetti.
Hey, sorry I was late. Rushing from another event where I saw Rich. My main update for this month is that we hosted a town hall, a lawmakers listen session on Tuesday, and we brought members of the House leadership team to Liho Liho Elementary School to hear directly from our community about their concerns. There's so many unprecedented challenges, so I really appreciated our Speaker of the House, our Majority Leader, Majority Caucus Leader, Finance Chair, and Chair of Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs all came out and spent 2 hours with us. We had about 60 community members join us, and we had really productive discussions around the state budget, our plan for, raising revenue to make up for the gap that federal funding cuts will leave in our social services. We talked about climate change, water resource management, and sort of the balancing act between respecting our natural resources and our development and housing goals. What else did we cover? We talked about growing wealth inequality and the underuse of some of our facilities in our district. I think we've had this ongoing conversation about the DOE facility in the Waiʻalae-Kāhala area. So we got to sort of share our concerns, but also hear from our leadership team about their plans for next legislative session, which is coming up so fast in January already. Yeah, and it was a great night. The feedback I got from our House leadership team was that this was the it had the best participation of any town hall they've done this year, and that the questions our community asked were very well informed and just smart questions that show how engaged our community is. So I was really proud in that moment to represent District 20, and we probably won't have another one again until next interim, but I'm happy to share updates as we move into session. And if you haven't already, please sign on to my e-newsletter by emailing me at repgrandinetti@capital.hawaii.gov. Thank you. And I'm here for questions.
Speaking of the DOE facility, Ms. Jetty from the governor's office said that they're putting out a contract to actually start getting
amazing.
things up and running. I understand that you yourself met in person with Mr. Barry Francis, Allison, and several other community members
Yes.
there, walked the site
Yeah.
and inspected it. So thank you for taking the time to do
That
that.
is such great news.
It's nice to see something actually
Good.
moving forward. So
Thank you to the governor's office.
and appreciate your involvement and participation in this. This is a rare treat to see a politician out and about actually doing something. So mark her name in your calendars, your books, and important logs. So that way the election comes up next year.
Yes.
We like the ones who actually do work. So thank you, Tina. I appreciate you. Does anybody on the board have any questions for Representative Grandinetti?
I don't have a question, but I just want to say thank you also, and ditto Christian's comment that we were so pleased to have you at the Symposium for Climate Resilience, and your presentation was right on. And we're looking forward to continuing to work with you as we create the climate mandate.
Thank you. Yeah, I planned on just showing up for the symposium to give my talk, and then I was learning so much I stayed for like most of the day. So
Well,
it was
thank you very
fantastic.
much. Yes, thank you. Anyway, you're right. It's fantastic when we have government agency people represented in various events that we host, like our neighborhood board.
Does anybody in the community have any questions, comments for Representative Grandinetti? Perfect. Oh,
The town hall was on Tuesday, and so I was so upset to find out that some people didn't receive our flyer until the day of, or even the day after in the mail. It was a problem with our in-house mail service at the Capitol. Yes, yeah. It was just a timing problem. Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. And yeah, in the e-newsletter, we send out all the updates much more frequently. So if you don't mind me showing up in your inbox every 3 weeks or so, just email my office and we'll add you.
all right. Thank you so much for your participation this evening. Appreciate you. All right. On to new and unfinished business. I need approval for the minutes for August 21st and September 18th. We do. A second.
Second.
Beautiful. All in favor, please raise your hand. Brian, Colin.
Aye.
See Brian, yep. Colin. All right, perfect. Minutes are approved unanimously. Let's see. And then Brian, I believe you had something that you wish to discuss regarding complete the streets, the Kilauea Ave lane configuration. Is that correct?
No, I don't have that prepared.
Okay. All right. No worries. My mistake then. Up next, the moment we've all been waiting for so patiently. Shangri-La's request for a letter of support from the Kāhala Waiʻalae Neighborhood Board regarding their CUP modification. I understand that we have people here in support and in opposition of. Just so we get all on the same page, the person who actually made the request is here this evening, Mr. Ben White. Ben, if you could step forward, introduce yourself, give us a quick re-update on kind of what Shangri-La is asking for, and we can run from there.
Sure. Hello, I'm Ben White, Executive Director, Aloha Chair, Board, neighbors, and a lot of our staff are here with us tonight. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from security, content engagement, executive support, who are just really committed as much as I am about what we're doing with Shangri-La. and what we can do as a neighborhood, not just for Kahala, but for Hawaii, and without sounding unrealistic, truly for our country and the globe. So with that, we have a couple slides. Anson, thanks for getting those queued up. Really simple. We just want to ground folks. We had presented this actually back in August, and I know some of the maybe folks here or online weren't able to attend. It's still available on YouTube, so I'll plug the the channel that you all have. It's great to see that those are available for everyone to see. So I don't want to be too repetitive. I just want to kind of give you the headlines here. If we can go to the next slide, please. And as we're going to the next slide, a key message is that we aren't expanding our footprint. If anything, we are expanding our our impact. So we're not changing anything about lighting. We're not changing anything about buildings. This is really just about a little more flexibility so we can have a few more evening events and we can have more folks attend Shangri-La, both from a mission aligned perspective and really a Native Hawaiian or local Kama'aina perspective as well. I hope all of you have seen the news. We just partnered with Bishop Museum, and we are now able to both support HOMA, Honolulu Museum of Art, and Bishop. We're very excited about getting out to Kalihi Kapalama to a different sort of audience that maybe doesn't feel seen or feel comfortable, at least historically, in a place like Kupiki-Piki-O or Black Point Kahala. And so with that, we really are leaning into this idea of being more than a museum. That's not to take away anything about our museum heritage, but it's the fact that we have been for a long time already really a harbinger of a culture and a convening center for arts, ideas, and connection. So I want to be clear, our mission isn't changing. We're part of the Doris Duke Foundation, focused on building a more creative, equitable, and sustainable future. And I want to get into some terminology that keeps coming up in conversations, and I think that will be helpful in the next slides, just to hopefully quell any fears. I will repeat something I mentioned in August. I was a neighbor, very concerned as a resident behind Universal Studios that it was this time of year that I would worry about Halloween. They had Fright Night, and you would hear literally people yelling at the top of their lungs for about 2 or 3 weeks. There were fireworks. They would leave flyers. You had to bring your dogs inside. I have deep empathy for feeling out of control in a place where you should feel at your most sane, at peace. It's retreat, especially in a place like Hawaii and in a quiet, beautiful, just restorative community like Black Point. So with that, this is what we currently have. The daytime art and architecture tour is still 9 to 5. The daytime meetings are 9 to 5, and then evening meetings, 5 to 10:30. That 5 p.m. again, you can imagine in summer, the sun doesn't go down until about 7:30. We discussed that last time. So we have to rush people out at 4:55, including our own neighbors for our pauhana, and then say, sorry, maybe, at least in the winter, the sun's a little closer. So I'm joking, but it really is one of these things when we talk about extending evening meetings. It's the idea if we have something that goes from 4 to 7, it could be for the governor, it could be for diplomats. We don't have to kick folks out at the hottest time of the day. We have a lot of our guests are older in age, and it's very hot. We don't have air conditioning if you've visited before. And we'll get more into the details in a moment. Next slide. Just as a refresher, the areas that are outlined is on the right, the galleries, and on the left is the structure we call the playhouse. And that's where we have convenings generally, while the tours focus on the upper right. So at the upper left, you'll see we have 4.3 acres and over 25,000 square feet of floor area. So again, the idea of being able to have 7 folks, regardless of size, our current CUP stipulates that if we have an evening event, which isn't defined, that could be 10 folks just coming over for dinner on the lanai. We can only do that every other month plus 1 other month. And we are in a residential neighborhood where folks generally have dinners on their lanais every night after 5 p.m. Next slide. Okay, and this, for those that know it, you can now just kind of see it in more of a bird's eye view. On the right is the lawn where we have most events to the pool, and then you can see the galleries and the playhouse on the left. Next slide. All right, so what's staying the same? Because this is, I think, where we can get lost in the details. And I want to be here to provide a salve for any stress, to be able to answer questions. And if we have to really dive in the details, I think anyone who's ever made a complaint, a concern, a question, I have personally addressed. Those people have my mobile number. I'm available by text. and that will not change. I discussed, I have 9-year-old twins. We split them across Nu'uanu, Les Jardins and Hanaho'oli. It's quite the split, but we have community on both sides of the island. You can find me on either side. North Shore, West Side's a little tricky, but I will continue to be here. If I ever went poof, something went horribly wrong, Deputy Executive Director Leah Major, who's here, who's been here now for 15 years, and by all means can speak to the evolution. She's been along for the ride. The mission has not changed. So all visitors will continue to arrive only by 25 passenger vans. There's no public parking. We will continue to use sound decibel meters. This is thank you to some of the neighbors here in the room. We think sometimes it might not be too loud, and now we know it isn't too loud by using these decibel meters. Actually, Paul, with our security team, raise your hand, please. Thanks, Paul. He goes around. He'll actually go behind the playhouse to double check how sound is. It's quite low level and anxiety inducing because you'll have musicians at times, say like a taimani. This is ukulele. We are on the far side and insulated within courtyards that are acoustic, and we'll say, sorry, you can't do that. And so, you know, it's not the easiest to say no, but everyone understands the respect that we are always consistently showing our neighbors. And if there's ever anything that's, for whatever reason, even within the bounds, but not working, we invite neighbors, please let us know, because it's all it is an easy switch to either a text to me or Leilani, if you can raise your hand. Farinas, our Director of Content Engagement, she's over our events team, and everyone's on site. As mentioned, we have 24 folks. We don't want to be there till 12 a.m. We're there at 8 a.m. Our foundation is based in New York. We wake up with about 60 to 70 emails from the foundation about driving impact across the arts, U.S. Muslim storytelling, Keiki well-being, working with grantees like Parents and Children Together. We're working with the alliances across environment that you have here for funder tours. When folks come, we try to introduce the continent-based funders to our local organizations. Then we give tours. Then we're giving convenings for the Consular Corps, as we did last week, entertaining 18 countries so they can understand the excitement and importance that an Islamic art collection can bring to attract to diplomatic conversation, which we've held those with a Chinese delegation and our U.S. government, which resulted in an agreement signed by Blinken when he was in Beijing last year. East-West Center has been a fantastic partner. We're looking to partner with them for an ambassador visit in the future. Wouldn't it be nice that they could do that over dinner? No music, just with some food on an evening event, CUP, that wouldn't be taking maybe from something that we would then have to cancel tours for. And I'll get into that. And all gatherings, again, no commercial activity, no weddings, no parties. I want to go to this word commercial. I had to look it up because it keeps coming up from sometimes from neighbors or from just in the Coconut Wireless. It really does mean for profit, commercial. There's no other. I thought maybe there's another word I'm missing. I come from a commercial background. I'm now in the nonprofit background. We're in a residential neighborhood. We don't have commercial activity. We have convenings, which are about meeting on important topics like AI, like safety in the South China Sea. We do not charge folks beyond what our costs are so we can have our operating budget continue for years to come. And all other dollars are either saved by the partner or are just not taken in. Bonus, evening programs will end by 9:30 p.m. So this is 1 hour earlier. So we're giving this just as a show of faith to the neighborhood. Currently, we're at 10:30. We've never gone to 10:30. We try to wrap by 9 at the very latest, and by the tailpipe leaving out the gates like 9:18. But we still just wanted to give neighbors just, again, our commitment that we're in this together. We're not trying to get all the things. We're just trying to be able to have folks be able to see a sunset, and at times when there's things like FestPack, be able to do things and give ample notification, and even ideally invite them to the parties, because why not invite your neighbors to events when you can actually have another 50, 75 folks to do so. Okay, I'll keep it quick because I know it's getting late for the next slides. Okay, I actually didn't know these numbers truly. So did you know, since we launched our foundation, Shangri-La Doris Duke has invested, this is a real number, $120 million. This is back to Hawaii. This isn't into the continent. This is our operating budget. It's, trimming trees that cost $20,000 to $40,000 for our neighbors. I mean, I didn't know all of this. It's all of the tour revenue that we've never taken dollars for that goes to Homa and now to Bishop. at a time when grant support from our administration is being re-envisioned, and the funding for arts and cultures is being shrinked away. Nature, Keiki Wellbeing, as mentioned, Parents and Children Together, PACT was a former grantee. We have other organizations like the Duke Kahanamoku Family Foundation for water safety that received grants. We have to be very ha-ha here. We have, you don't really lead usually with tooting your own horn, but I think this is a moment where we actually have to let you all know that we do a lot of these things. We just haven't really been good about sharing them. Unlike museums that must fundraise, we are supported by our $2 billion endowment. We don't need money. We're not doing that for any other reason except to drive impact. Multiple diplomatic and other critical conversations, including those with East West Center, have been declined over the years due to current CUP evening restrictions. We have said, it's October, I'm so sorry, you want to do something in December? We just can't because it's an evening event. Well, but they're only available for this 2-hour window. I'm like, I'm sorry, we would be breaking our CUP. And all it would be a dinner on a lanai with diplomats that are trying to, maintain peace and, again, the Indo-Pac region. So one final note, because we do our absolute best to be of the letter of the CUP, of each letter, we tallied up since inception of the tour program, we have to cancel tours. So last week, the Consular Corps convening of the 18 countries was about 50 folks. We had to be careful, and so we're like, well, then that means we have to cancel 2 tours. And each time we do that, that's no revenue for the museums. We're not taking any dollars because we're not commercial. And even though they're not commercial, they need the funding. So we totaled it up, and it's over $1 million since inception. That all could have gone to HOMA just to fund a museum that needs money more than ever. So again, truly, this is something I had to put together because why are we changing it? Why didn't you just leave it the same? Well, these are great reasons. And that first bullet point, I just think we don't talk about enough. We have dedicated, Doris Duke, this woman that lived here, had this vision. And next year it's 2026? She created it in 1936. This is 90 years later that we're able to look back and say, we've done this. You left all of your wealth. You could have sold this. We could have created 20 houses there with all of their own parties and birthdays and cars. And we have, in a normal day, 4 vans that go and leave. Even if we doubled what we had now, that's 8 vans. So I feel for any concern and uncertainty, and that's why I'm here, to make sure that no one feels anything but clear about what the future is. Next slide, please. Oh, the most important one. So mahalo. What this CUP doesn't show is it's a technical document. It doesn't show how much we do care about you all. We don't do pauhanas just so we can get a CUP approved. We do it because we want to invite you in, because I've been a neighbor. It just feels gross when you don't know. I brought it up in August. I don't know what I need to do in Nu'uanu every Sunday, 1 to 3:30, 2.5 hours, lawn blowers. It's the only time I'm with my kids. I don't think that's legal, but I don't know what to do. So quite honestly, I'm inspired by folks that are speaking up, because I think I need to do that because I'm really unhappy in my home. But that aside, at a time where so many folks in meetings exactly like this aren't able to have civil discourse, it really is a privilege to be able to have discussions and maybe not always agree on things. And the only promise that we can make, because we have a lot of staffers here today, the promise that I can make is that I will keep showing up. They will keep showing up. I will continue to call the Johnsons. When you email me, you will get that email right back. We will have 2-hour conversations. My first day of vacation, when I moved here with my kids and my husband, called you back. Anyone who has ever had a question, I can turn down volume, even if we had decibel 45 to 55, which is the legal limit. We don't want trouble. We just want to drive impact for our founder who left her wealth for good. Mahalo.
Thank you very much for that explanation, Ben. All right, so we are going to now open it up to community so that everybody here who has come to speak on this matter can be heard. I will remind everybody that there is a 3-minute limit and to please keep it civil. Rich?
Yeah. So I just
want to really support what Ben Weitz, the director of the Shangri-La, is asking for. And I want to first go back to history. When Shangri-La first came to our community, I was chair of this neighborhood board, and we spent many, many meetings discussing whether Shangri-La should come in as the most outstanding Islamic art museum outside of the Islamic world. And we decided, yes, the neighborhood board supported it for good reason, not only because an outstanding, a world-renowned institution was coming to Hawaii, but because the alternative was for the Doris Duke estate to be broken down into 20, 21, 22 individual houses that would have much greater, a very negative effect on the community compared to the Doris Duke estate. So the Shangri-La has come here, and my observation is there have been an outstanding contribution to the community. And I want to go one step further. When I came first to Hawaii in 1970 after serving in the Peace Corps, Hawaii was the center, the educational, the diplomatic center of the entire Pacific Basin. And very, very important for the Pacific world. You know, since that time, Hawaii's role has decreased, unfortunately. Well, with the advent of the East-West Center, there is a movement now because of the importance of the Pacific to the world economy and to the United States. Hawaii is once again becoming a very important center of the Pacific. And the Shangri-La is very significant, very important to that. And I want to talk about a meeting I had today at the East-West Center. I was back 2016 to 2019, I was the chair of the Board of Governors of the East-West Center. And we talked about how the East-West Center can play a greater role in making Hawaii an important center of the Pacific. And today at a meeting, the relationship between the East-West Center and the Shangri-La came up because in early November, Kevin Rudd, former Prime Minister of Australia, and now the Australian ambassador to the United States, wants to come to Hawaii, is planning to come to Hawaii, and he wants to have an important diplomatic dinner at Shangri-La. But that can't happen unless we, neighborhood board, gives Shangri-La permission to have evening meetings with individuals like Kevin Rudd, the former Prime Minister of Australia, and now the Australian ambassador to the US. So we need to give the Shangri-La permission to have these very important, discreet, quiet dinners at Shangri-La so Hawaii can resume its place as a diplomatic, cultural center of the Pacific. I urge the neighborhood board, please approve of what Executive Director Mr. Weitz of the Shangri-La is asking. The future of the importance of Hawaii as a center of Pacific culture and Pacific diplomacy depends on it. Our children, they want to stay in Hawaii. They want Hawaii to be an important center of the Pacific. So please, let us not be too critical and too, we don't want to have our area be the important center that it deserves to be. So I'll leave it at that. But I would say, please, let's endorse what Mr. White is asking us to do for the good of our children and our future.
Thank you for those invigorating words, Rich. Anybody interested? I'm going to have you line up over here just so we can see anyone who's here to speak. 3 minutes per person, and we'll go ahead and start. Oh, a handout. Oh, test one. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Thank you. I'm Ashley, and thank you so much, board, for letting us have a moment to share our thoughts. Our family has lived in Papu neighborhood since before Doris Duke's home was built, and multiple generations have raised families, been raised there, walk our dogs. It's a very special neighborhood to us. And we have great respect for Doris Duke Foundation. It's absolutely gorgeous. It does admirable things for our community. The staff there is wonderful. There are tons of good things about Shangri-La, no doubt. And for the last 25 years, we've had a really healthy, open communication, relationship with the management there. And they've been respectful and thoughtful neighbors. Starting last year, we noticed an increase in evening events, weekend events, amplified sound, traffic in the neighborhood. And then in the August meeting, we saw the new proposed CUP. And why it really concerns us is it's going from 7 evening events a year to 36, and not like and up to 300 people. So not just a tiny dinner party, but 300 people at the estate 36 times a year, and going up to 43,000 visitors to the property being bussed in a year, and evening events going up from currently 600 people to 6,000 people. So that totally makes great sense for a venue in Waikiki or Beretania, but this is a residential neighborhood. And, no human being in the world wants to be in conflict with their neighbor. And so none of us here want to be at odds with Shangri-La. We all admire their work and the wonderful things they're doing. But what's being proposed is really designed for a commercial setting, not a residential neighborhood. And residential zoning was, really has wonderful reasons, being to give people a place to come home and rest, rejuvenate, connect with their families, raise their families, and, recover from the demands of the commercial world. And so the zoning laws protect that balance and keeping our homes a place of refuge away from venues with large scale events. If the CUP modification is approved, our protection disappears. And so the vast majority of neighbors we spoke to share these concerns. In your handout, we have 50 residents that have formally opposed the proposed CUP modification and asked this board to vote against supporting it, coming from 32 different households in the neighborhood. It feels intimidating to stand up against a large organization that's well connected. And so we're really grateful that our voices can be heard this evening, and the voices of the community that lives here. I also ask all of you in this room to imagine if your next door neighbor is asking to host 36 events, 3 a month, with 300 people per event, and have 43,000 visitors to the home next door to yours. I think you might also come to your neighborhood board and ask for their help and protection. And so with great respect, we ask that you listen to our community and vote against supporting the CUP modification for the Shangri-La Museum. Thanks for your time and your service.
Thank you very much for that testimony. Do we have anybody else who wishes to be heard this evening? Please introduce yourself into the microphone.
Sure. Aloha Chair and members of the Neighborhood Board and Shangri-La Director Vice and its staff. My tone, sorry, may be a little sharper than Ashley's, so let's go with that. My name is Stephanie Gruner. I've been a resident of this neighborhood since 2010. I am here tonight to object to the board writing a letter of support for the Shangri-La Cup modification because it is not a minor modification. It is a major one as confirmed by DPP, and it must be treated as such. So the wording of it as a minor application is false. First, the application fails to adequately explain the parking and traffic impacts as the reports in the application are outdated. 13 shuttle buses, each carrying up to 25 passengers, require a comprehensive plan for on-site parking, circulation, and staging. The documents do not show where these vehicles will be parked, how often they will be moved, or how conflicts with residential access and safety will be prevented. Without those details, there's no assurance that the neighborhood's daily life will not be disrupted. Second, the permit lacks clear enforcement mechanisms. There is no defined process for monitoring compliance, nor is there any clarity on who will enforce the limits of the operations. This kind of vague enforcement is a recipe for frustration and mistrust, and one that we are currently experiencing now. Importantly, it is Shangri-La's burden, not ours, to demonstrate that this major modification will not unreasonably infringe upon the rights of neighbors or destroy their ability to enjoy their properties. The majority of letters of support submitted for Shangri-La come from individuals who do not live in the area and therefore do not bear the impacts of the expansion. Also, they have used neighbors such as Susan Fuller, Ashley Johnson, Fred Fong, who do not support them and is improperly included in the application. Support from non-residents does not substitute for the fundamental right of actual neighbors to quiet enjoyment and safety. As someone who has lived here since 2010, I want to emphasize that I have never had issues with Shangri-La until now. This is my first neighborhood board meeting that I am appearing at. What's changed is not the community's goodwill, it's the approach. The process has felt rushed, opaque, and a lack of disregard to discuss it directly with the neighbors. There has been no real outreach about the increased scope of this proposal. Instead, we're giving glossy talking points about the mission, while the core issues, parking, enforcement, and neighbors' rights are left unaddressed. This approach has eroded the trust and goodwill that previous Shangri-La leadership worked hard to build. It feels like a bull in a china shop approach, pushing through a major change without respect for community or process. For these reasons, I respectfully urge the board not to issue a letter of support at this time. Instead, please allow DPP to fully evaluate this major application through the proper channels, including a public hearing, and the board should ensure that the residents' rights to peaceful enjoyment are protected. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that feedback. And also congratulations on your first neighborhood board visit. Appreciate it. You, sir, please introduce yourself into the microphone.
I'm Bill Johnson, and I'm a neighbor. Our family's property's 20 feet from the playhouse. So, these two gals expressed it much better than I can. But the increases that Shangri-La is proposing represent a major expansion from their current CUP. Shangri-La sent a letter to area residents on August 4th stating that they're requesting a modest increase for their new CUP. This obviously is not a modest increase, but it's a major increase. And for example, if you read in the weeds, their actual data sheet, their vans will increase per year from 28 to 276 for their evening events. That's 1,000% increase. And there's visitors per year for their evening events. Goes from 672 to 6,600. That's 1,000%. And the amount at any event, you look at the data, they could have up to 300 people at any event. So obviously, this is not a modest increase, but a major increase. And it's totally inappropriate for a residential neighborhood. It's simple. The noise, traffic, and activity from this expansion should not happen in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that thoughtful feedback. Please go ahead and introduce yourself into the microphone.
Hi, I'm Gary Johnson. I provided that written statement and some documentation to all of you. I wanted to add a couple of things. I think that if you guys take a look at the map that I provided in that handout, it shows the opposition that my wife mentioned in her testimony, and it shows kind of how many of the residents around the area that Shangri-La Museum is located are concerned are concerned with this new cup application. And a couple of things I want to point out is one, getting the information has been difficult throughout this process. And even tonight, if you look at the presentation Shangri-La put together, many of the details that impact the neighborhood were left out of that presentation. And I think that's, for me, been consistent throughout this process, is the details that impact the neighborhood have not been talked about enough. And I think a lot of people that have provided support don't fully understand the details. And so I caution you, that some of the folks that have voiced their support may not fully understand. And so just take a look at that map. We've talked to neighbors, we've explained some of it to them. And once they understand the details, they're very concerned with the magnitude of the changes that Shangri-La is proposing. And, a couple of examples tonight that were mentioned are, small meetings with diplomats. And my question there is that why, if that's what's important, why is that not what's reflected in the application? You're applying for something for 300 people, not for 10 people. And so if those things are important, why not apply for an application that allows you to have dinners of up to 10 people rather than events for 300 people? So, those are concerns that I have. And I do just want to say that I am very against this cup proposal, but I strongly support Shangri-La. I love Shangri-La. They're a great organization. The Doris Duke Foundation is amazing, and I hope that they can continue their mission. But I really think that these events, these large-scale events that they're proposing to have in this residential neighborhood should be held in a venue and in a place that can support that kind of event. And this is a neighborhood. It's not the Halekulani. It's not Waikiki. And so, neighborhood board, I just ask that you guys consider that this is a significant impact for a neighborhood and the people in the community around Papu Circle. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that testimony. You, sir, please introduce yourself into the microphone.
Aloha, board and guest. My name is Hugh Guerrero. In 1954, my dad was one of 5 Hawaiians able to buy into the newly developed Papu Circle area. As a kid, I was able to come down to Shangri-La and swim in the pool and later work for Miss Duke during summer. It has been a real treat to come again to Shangri-La for the Pauhana events put on twice a year for the residents. 25 years ago, I was there with Richard Turbin when the Duke Foundation applied for the CUP as a museum. And after several meetings, we moved forward reluctantly with the current CUP and an agreement to keep employees and associates parking on site. We moved forward with the 96 people CUP and asked the foundation not to come back years later for changes. This is exactly why we were reluctant. My home faces Shangri-La entrance and is impacted during the week when I am awoken by a first trucks arriving at 5:30 in the morning and continuing stream of cars either park on Papu Circle at the main gate or continue into the property. Since its conception, Shangri-La has kept up with the agreement to park staff and employees' cars on property. I'm disappointed in 2023 when employees started parking 7 to 9 vehicles on Papu Circle. This has freed up 7 to 9 parking spaces on their property. With employees' cars now parked on Papu Circle, their coming and going during the day becomes more evident. Vehicle traffic has increased tremendously since they opened more spaces on the grounds. The reason I'm focusing on parking is on September 30th, 2025, I just got home and noticed 7 Mercedes buses and other vehicles going on and off the property between 7:23 and 9 p.m. They were not the 25-passenger bus required. Among the buses, there were approximately 15 cars, vans, trucks trying to go in or come out, dropping off people to go to their 15 additional cars parked on Papu Circle, which made maneuvering of these buses difficult. It took them 1.5 hours to get these guests and staff off property that evening. Not acceptable for a residential area. 3 other neighbors came by during this time, some who were thinking of approving the new CUP, but all decided to oppose it after this incident. It became apparent then that there is no logistical way of transporting more than 100 guests without causing excessive noise and traffic in a quiet community. For this reason, I will be opposing the newly proposed CUP. Mahalo plenty for your attention.
Thank you very much. And sorry, before you walk back, did you say you worked for Doris Duke during the summers?
Yes.
What was she like?
She was a generous woman and didn't converse with her. I was young. I was a teenager at the time. But I would get to serve her meals and stuff. But she was just pleasant. She didn't go out of her way to, but at least I got to meet her. My father also was a waterman with Duke Kahanamoku. And that's how we got to meet. He got to meet his student.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that history.
Write about her in your memoir?
Pardon?
You want to write about her in your memoir?
Such a little information I got.
Thank you very much. You miss, go ahead and please introduce yourself.
Board, I'm here to oppose the CUP that's before us all. I don't know if everybody knows, you probably know, but our residence is on Pico Place. Here's the Doris Duke property.
Please make sure you speak into the microphone so those online can.
Short. Here's the Doris Duke property. Here's my house. Her driveway comes in here directly in front of my kitchen and dining room. Historically, we have had headlights in our dining room while we had guests at dinner. Walter, is an attorney, a friend of ours, and he was appalled. Walter Davis, you probably know him, Mr. Turbin. He was there when the headlights came in my dining room. They also parked along the driveway. This is zoned R7.5, as all of the houses around here are. We have owned the property since the 1960s. Unlike the Brants, who have owned their property forever, I can't believe you pre-owned Doris Duke even. The Brandt family has been in the neighborhood forever. And our property touches here, and I would see cars and buses going in and out in front of my kitchen window. They would park in front of my kitchen window. Again, this is the property, even though it's a large property, it's still zoned R7.5. If they had subdivided it, Richard, I would have one neighbor, and if they wanted to have 34 parties a year, I would have one neighbor in one house with 34 parties a year. It would not be groups of people coming in all through the day. I am also aware of a few state violations of Hawaii revised statutes regarding engine idling. You can call the Clean Air Branch. I'm aware of at least 2 documented reports where they had to be called to be reminded to have the bus drivers to cease their engines idling for more than the law allows. Noise, air pollution, all sorts of things. This is on a weekly basis, not every day, but I'm not looking forward to it accidentally occurring several times a day throughout the week. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else like to speak? Oh, I apologize. Sorry, 1 second. Mr. White, John, are you there?
My name is John White. I'm a Papu Circle resident and the organizer of the Kāhala Diamond Head Neighborhood Security Watch, which now includes 360 distinct households. Personally, I believe Shangri-La has been a good neighbor and offers a unique opportunity for people living in Hawaii and visitors to learn about and appreciate Islamic art, architecture, and many other cultural items. So I'm in support of their proposed changes. Other neighborhoods across Oahu face far greater daily disturbances, from constant rumble of dump trucks carrying, among other things, the trash from Papu Circle residents, to the foul smells and drifts through communities located near wastewater treatment plants. Some neighborhoods deal with chronic traffic congestion, neglected, rundown properties. In contrast, all that is being asked of us, the residents near Shangri-La, is to allow a few additional visitor vans to travel down Papu Circle. Not increased foot traffic, not more private vehicles, just a small number of controlled, scheduled vans. Since organizing the Neighborhood Watch in 2018, I've heard a variety of concerns from neighbors. Dog messes, aggressive dogs, a drug house on Papu Circle, illegal campfires at Cromwell's, but not once has anyone ever complained to me about traffic or noise from Shangri-La. Based on footage from our surveillance camera on Papu Circle, an average of 140 to 160 vehicles pass by our home every day. These include not just residents, but also surfers heading to Caicos, sightseers enjoying the views. I'm certain nearby streets like Kulamano Place see 2 or 3 times as many cars and visitors. Yet I've never heard of the residents there calling for traffic restrictions. In that context, a few more vans carrying respectable visitors, people who come to learn, appreciate, and connect with the diverse cultures represented at Shangri-La, is a small and reasonable accommodation. The benefits of fostering cultural understanding far outweigh the minimal additional traffic these visits might bring. I solicited support of neighborhood security watch members living just on Papu Circle recently, and 16.5 households responded supporting the proposed changes. The half is one household where the couple was split. And that's my comments.
Thank you very much for that feedback, John. Appreciate you taking the time. Let's see. Before Ben, you respond, is there anybody else here who has not yet spoken who would like to be heard this evening? Oh,
Ben, your last name I didn't get. Whites? Okay, I don't have any complaints about, because I don't live next to your place. I've been there and my family's been there for a long time, but I think I must have been living under a rock for a number of years now, because I always thought it was about Islamic art. But I've been there, and most of the good stuff went to the mainland. I don't know if it ever came back, but this won't be long, promise. So the endowment was how much?
It's tough times, so we'll just say 2 billion plus.
Okay. And the mandate, in simple terms, so what to do with that 2 billion?
Is to support our mission across our grant making programs, which we're not a grant making program, but we're center of the Doris Duke Foundation. So we need to spend a certain percentage of that each year by our statute of our foundation, and that goes across our five grant making programs. So that's performing arts, child well-being, some of the grantees I mentioned, environment, what we call Building Bridges, which is our U.S. Muslim storytelling initiative, and then medical research. And wouldn't you know that you wouldn't know, Doris Duke Foundation was one of the initial funders to sickle cell research. And so that is all going on in New York. And what we're trying to do is now use our centers. There's a sister center in Somerset, New Jersey, smack in the middle between Philadelphia and New York City with 2,700 acres, so a little different than our 4.3, that we can now use these centers to help amplify these grant-making programs. So when we have, again, these deep pockets, Packard Foundation.
This is much more huger than Islamic art.
Right, and so exactly. So to just succinctly say, our mission hasn't changed as a part of foundation. What has happened is that we have realized, to Board Member Turbin's point, we have this asset that we've been looking at as a tourist museum. And what we've been using it for now is to disarm delegations of folks. And we did have an event during FestPac that was what you would say would be loud as a neighbor. We weren't over.
Using up my 3 minutes.
Oh, okay, go ahead. But it was within the legal limits. And sometimes we have one-year-old birthday parties in a residential neighborhood. So please, I yield.
I'm really thrilled to hear that you have a child at Honolulu School, by the way. Okay, so how would you split the public demand for using the facilities in any way versus what the foundation wants? And how would you put this into the numbers that you've used as your need?
Sure, and hopefully this answers some of the questions or comments that were made from our neighbors. Let's go with that 300 number that was mentioned many times. I also want to correct the term party. We don't throw parties. We're not allowed to, quite honestly. It's not a part of our mission. Our neighbors can. I've been to some on Kahala Avenue. They have valet lines with people allowing no traffic parking because that's the only place they could put them. Our folks park at Triangle Park or at Kapiolani. Excuse me, not at Triangle Park. We sometimes park at Triangle Park to avoid the parking. And so, Hugh, it's disappointing to hear that happen. I would love to hear more. And I invite all of you to text me or my staff, just like in a residential neighborhood you would, and not find out about it, unfortunately, at a board meeting. Because these are the surprises that we can so easily fix. We're on site. I have low-level anxiety every time I get an email because I don't want to have this as well. I just want to keep this easy. And neighbors text each other. They call, what's going on? There are cars. Really? And you know what? You're right. I'm just finding out about these black vans. That was a Native Hawaiian philanthropy event in concert with Native Americans in philanthropy and Asian American and Pacific Islanders in philanthropy. And they ended up with their own vans that were 25-person vans. They ended up not being as fluent. It was a miscommunication. And we still didn't break any rules, but it sounds like it caused parking issues. I am finding about it now.
Hey, Ben, you're answering these people's problems.
Sure.
Can we just get back to my simple question? Public demand versus what you want.
Sure. The tour program is staying the same. So there's a slight difference. That's the public demand. We're trying to invite locals more into the piece. Where I got, sorry, excuse me for going down the rabbit hole. That 300 number, I want to go back to the bullet that I shared about lost revenue. So what happens when we have public demand for our tours? We have to cancel if we have a 100-person event. If we have a pauhana of our 100, we have to cancel it. And so there's no tour, and therefore, if that day of the 300 day would become 200 because we have 100 for the tour, and then we could have 100 for the pauhana. We could even have a 50-person meeting in the play. Maybe the Homo wants to have a board meeting, 30 people in the Playhouse. They can go down. We've hosted them. If we host them, though, currently we have to cancel a tour. So 300, again, I don't know what you're looking at. It's a little flying blind, not knowing the document that you received. But our permit, which dictates things very complicatedly, and that's why we want to host any sort of conversation about that. But if we bring it up, it will maybe beg more questions. We're happy to answer them. The 300 is once a month. It's a max of 300 people on site, not for a party, not for one event. It's 300 people a day, not including staff. So if we have our tour still running, we're already down to 200. That's only 4 vans that day. So I don't know where the 36 came from. If people are looking at the very public permit, you can pull it. It doesn't say 36, 300 events. It's a medium, large events. They can have those throughout the year. Okay. Then, and Stephanie, okay, so I want to stay focused on your question. And so from a private demand, say for East West Center or for Aspen Institute, these other Bellagio, these other convening centers that want to bring folks, we don't have to say yes. We have to make sure they're mission aligned. And then if it is, we'll allow it. But we want to make sure when we bring those folks, if we have the former deputy technology AI czar for the last administration, we don't just bring them in and they close the doors of the Playhouse. We open it up to the public, not for a party, but for a panel discussion where we bring the vice provost of Shamadan in. We bring in the AI technologists from Iolani High School, and we sell tickets with all of the revenue going to the museums that we don't need the funding. And what we've been able to do is invite 20 people of the public. Wouldn't it be nice to invite 50, 75? That's 3 vans. It's 3 vans. And that would be the big 300 day. We would have done 100 tours. We would have done a panel for AI. That's 200. And we could have done a board meeting for HOMA. Every so often, I don't want to gaslight anyone. There could be an event like FestPac that is every once in a lifetime moment where we were asked to host the Maudi royal family before the king, who then passed away 2 months later. It had a haka. It had the Aotearoa American Idol winner, who there was music. And it was an event that was special to FestPac. And it was scary for our neighbors. And we learned that. It was all on top of each other. There was an Emerging Leader Institute. These are folks from across Pacifica. They wanted to dance to the music. Can I say no dancing on 4 acres? I can lower the music, but it's FestPac. These are once in a lifetime moments. We're not advertising, let's do dance parties in Waikiki, now at Shangri-La. This is mostly diplomatic conversations, and then occasionally we're going to be hosting the Garden Club of America. Are the women going to want some Chardonnay? And we have to be careful about alcohol. We have to be careful about music. I am running around like a crazy person, making sure we're not breaking any rules. So that's how we try to balance the private and the public.
Suggestion.
Please, open to all.
I don't know how many people here really understood the depth and breadth of your mission. And perhaps that's my fault because I didn't look into it. But I think if I'd known more about what you wanted to do with the $2 billion, I might have had a different view. My wife wasn't invited to the garden club, so I object there.
Dr. Kitty, whoa.
Yeah, I know. But still, I don't think I'd want that much activity near my house, which is, I see the lights of Shangri-La from my house down the beach, and they're kind of nice at night. They twinkle from a distance. Anyway, so I thank you for your answers, and I appreciate your expansiveness of your answer, but I can't absorb that much knowledge anymore.
Thank you for your question.
Ben, I do have a concern when you
Sure.
talk about the 300 visitors.
Yes.
If you're hosting a first-class event, you're talking about 100 support people. You're talking about all the supplies being moved in. There's a lot of other traffic going on. And I'm wondering where all these support people are going to park, how that's going to be handled. Because 300 is a big number.
Sure. So we have 24 on our staff full time, and we work with Under My Umbrella for events. And at the end of the day, it sounds like a lot of people extra. It's not. It's still the same amount of food that fits in one van that gets delivered for catering. It gets dropped off. Those people leave. Under My Umbrella employs 3 to 4 other folks to help serve, and they're in one car as well. So it's really the idea is that we're not, it's just more food and more drink and more vans.
How about tables and chairs and things like that? You have all that?
That's all on site.
They handle 300 people?
Absolutely. We have sheds. We have 4 acres. Again, this is a very large space, and we don't put the 300 people all over. We keep them together. We can keep an eye on them. Also, a shout out for Paul and security. We pay for security 24/7 in our neighborhood. We have 4 acres checked. They do all night long during holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving. We have guardianship in our neighborhood that we pay for to keep all of our neighbors, many who are in the room tonight, safe. And we track all of the incidents. Paula has fantastic reports at our gate. We share that with neighbors as needed, and I'm really proud of that. But it's not so much about, that's actually the thing that gets me. I'll look around at a Pauhana when we do our neighbors, and I'm like, oh, we only invited 110 because we know we're going to have a drop off, but we only had 60 show up. We're not even maximizing for this. We got all the people there. It's only one more person to serve food. It's just a longer, you know what it is? It's a longer line for the buffet, and you have to longer line for drinks. It's not more people.
One last question. If you do this, you're obviously going to have some issues come up.
Of course.
With the residents. How are you going to communicate with them, and how are you going to talk to them to resolve these issues? Do you have a plan for that?
Thank you for the question. It did come up, and again, I want to not go tit for tat and be defensive about any of this. Ms. Balfour, it's great to see you. I actually knocked on your door in your neighborhood. I did after the Fongs, and then I went next door, and I went the back door. There was many cars, and there was a lot of just things. I didn't want to touch anything. I knocked. I heard inside there was activity. There was no answer. I wanted to call you. It was the same day I went to the Johnsons to make sure you can come. I'm sorry. I will have to check with the security team. Well, we're not patrolling the.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep the conversation on track here.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I was speaking about and referring to the board members' question about how am I communicating with the neighbors. So I came to your door to knock in advance of I did know you made a complaint maybe 15 years ago, and we talked about it in the meeting with DPP because I had never heard of your family. We've invited you to Pauhanas, and you have not attended. Excuse me, please. It's my time. I'm happy if you want to make comments. And you don't need to come, but that's where we communicate. That's where we are ohana. We're not using that word like a Moana movie. I feel like that's why, Gary said it. I know you mean it, Gary. There's fear though. This is fear. And Hugh, you had just a recent experience. And so as an invitation to you all, you don't have to come to Pauhana. You obviously have a history that predates me. I've only been here for 2 years. I can't speak to that to Ms. Balfour. So what I can say is on a hot day in Kupiki-Piki-O, where I'm walking, knocking, trying to get a hold of people in advance of a letter that Hugh, you mentioned. You said, Hugh, I mean, Ben, how are you communicating with us? We're disappointed how this went out. I went, well, it went out to the agenda on the mail out for here. We presented, I knocked on doors, and we mailed out letters, and we invited a pauhana. I don't know. I asked you. We ended up getting into a little miscommunication. I'm like, what more can I do? And you didn't answer, but you're like, I just wanted to let you know I'm disappointed. And so I'm like, no, but I don't want to argue. I really want to know. It's a real question. What more can I do as a leader with 2 9-year-olds in a marriage? And, but it's not me as a victim. It's me that I have time to actually invest. And I didn't get an answer. And it was like, you just were disappointed. And I had to sit with it. I brought you a book to say sorry, and that was it. Yes, you. No, Miss Balfour, I've never seen you in 2 years. I've come to your home. That's okay. That's okay.
I'm going to interrupt for a second. I'd like to keep this conversation on track, please.
So just to recap what I shared, we had pauhana communication. I want to go to Stephanie regarding the communication as well. I can tell you're emotional about this, and it really upsets me. So I don't know what else I can talk to you. I quickly outlined. Yeah, I did not. You're right. You're right. I'm sorry I didn't knock on every door. Did you not get a letter?
I apologize. If we're going to be conversing back and forth, I do request that both conversations happen in a microphone so that way
Sure.
everybody online can hear, so everybody gets adequate access to this information.
I hear you, Stephanie. So if you want time, like I said, I did my best to go around the immediate perimeter. Honestly, you've come to the pauhanas. I thought that if you had any questions, you would email me with the mail. I went to the Johnson specifically. I went to folks that I don't know or have been concerned, and I only had so much time in an hour. Johnson, I don't know, Ashley, how long we spoke, maybe 15, 20 minutes, and I had about an hour and 10 minutes. And you're right, I didn't knock at the door. There's a lot of things, but I promise, if you want to come up, but so what we did before we submitted was we presented here with what the increases were. That was audio and video recorded on YouTube. We then hosted a pauhana that we emailed everyone, and then and we did discuss it. And I said, if there was any questions about it, you can come, Hugh. That's when we discussed. And anyway, I wanted to address it. On the minor, I do want to also go back because it makes it sound like we're not being forthright. We worked with DPP, and it's a minor as it's been submitted. And I don't know what else to say.
I do apologize, but if conversation is going to be occurring back and forth, I do require you to speak into the microphone.
Okay, so that would be news to us. But thank you for telling me, because then we can follow up. We have Jim Hayes with Planning Solutions, who has submitted. How long, Jim, have you worked in the space with DPP? So he's worked for 20 years. I haven't. I pulled permits for doing construction. I am not an expert. We've hired one to do that for us. And as of September 29th, when we submitted it, it was a minor. I know that things have changed September 30th, coincidentally. And so I don't know. They actually have a brand new permitting system as well. I think there was a hiccup on what was uploaded as well. I do want to, again, thank you for your comments and invite you again, if you have any questions, to please contact me. We will be happy to walk you through all of the different pieces. The final note I'll say about the capacity, because back to that piece that you all had mentioned about, I would be worried too. Currently, the full capacity is 30,000. So I know you had mentioned the 46,000 number. We have only been at 40% of the 30%. That's forecast for the entire year of 30,000 and some change. So then the next question would be like, well, why are you asking for a CUP then if you're only at 40% of 30,000 now anyway? It's the way it's written. So when you were double counting the idea of having an evening event, we've only had 600 people because as soon as it's 459, we can't count them as an evening event. So it would be increased significantly for the evening events because we'd be staying past 5 for once. We've only been able to do that 7 times a year. So you're right, there is a huge increase, but we're not planning to go till 9. We want to go till 6:30 and have a, of a 4 to 6:30 or whatever it is. Right now the sun goes at 6:04, and I know because that's what I try to get to before I, don't have time to get to the beach. So, you know what I'm saying? That is what makes it evening event. So when you pull it out of context, this is where the confusion and the fear starts. We're not increasing 1,000%. At our max capacity, we're moving from 30,000 to something like the mid 40s at our max. But again, we only were at 40% for this whole year as we're forecast. And we must be at that number because otherwise we're breaking our CUP. So I hope that makes sense. It's a lot of numbers. That's why we didn't want to get into the numbers. But we would, again, invite any of our neighbors to please contact us. And if you aren't in the mood to do it, I hear you. But if you are open to a dialogue, it is not empty words. We don't want glossy presentations. What we want is to have what we shared last time, which were numbers that get confusing. And those that want to dive into the details and not such a broad audience, let's do it. Parking, we have to fix it if it's an issue. First I've heard of it. Absolutely, number one, easy to fix. And number two, a huge headache if you're experiencing that. So let's talk about it. And you have my word. You have all of the staff that could come. They were starting, who knows what day they started, but they were here tonight because they wanted to be here not just for numbers, but because they're committed. We're committed, and you all are committed. I know it, and that's why we're here and talking to you all. We're not trying to pull any tricks. We got back on the agenda because you know what? I am going to call this out. Jim, you said you had asked, someone on the board said, do you have a motion? And you know what? We could have said it was a great meeting. None of you were there. The Johnsons were valiantly there speaking their truth. And we could have easily said, I would love to have a vote for a letter of support. But my na'au, my intuition, my gut said, you know what? Wait for the Pauhana whites. Wait for the Pauhana Ben, because that is not the way to do it in Hawaii of all places. Forge relationships. Take your time. If Kumuviki wants to do a new Oli and show how we're involved, that's great. Look at, we're a part of the community, we're trying, but no, it's more than that. It's listening to the neighbors. And that's why I had such a visceral response to you when you were not happy, because I couldn't believe it. But it let me know something went wrong in the way we somehow communicated. And you showing up means a lot. So anyway, I know it's continues to get later. I have so many passionate feelings about this that I just want to make sure no one leaves here feeling anything, but at least they have more questions.
There does seem to be quite a bit of passion in the room. Aloha. So here's what we're going to do. Aloha, we'll have you go ahead and talk. Rich, I know you would like to say something, and then we will call for a vote on this matter, unless anybody who has not been heard yet here, who's not been heard yet, be heard. Okay, aloha.
Well, first of all, I want to say how pleased I am to hear that Shangri-La has had such a wonderful experience with your neighbors for so many years. The question I have is, what happened? Why is it within the last year these things have occurred? And I have a couple of questions, well, actually 3 questions. The second is, have you had a public hearing other than the Pauhana, the one Pauhana that I've just heard about? Have you had other conversations with your neighbors to discuss this with a Q&A, not just a Pauhana thing? And then third, I still am not clear whether you have a minor or a major CUP. And maybe Jim, you can answer that because there seems to be a debate on whether it's a major or minor.
Please introduce yourself and also your background to speak on this matter.
Yeah, my name is Jim Hayes, President of Planning Solutions. We're a planning and permitting firm, land use permitting firm here in Honolulu. I've been working in that field for many, many years. We work on a number of conditional use permits, SMA permits, environmental assessments, things of that nature. And when you're doing a meeting facility, which is there are different flavors of CUPs. A meeting facility is one. Under the umbrella of meeting facilities, you see churches, you see community centers, you see museums, sometimes private schools, small ones. And under the meeting facility umbrella, they're all CUP minors when you submit them. Then DPP has discretion to hold a hearing. And really the only difference between a CUP minor and a CUP major is whether they hold a hearing. So when you submit a CUP minor, DPP has that discretion to kick it up to require a hearing. But again, that's at DPP's discretion. And we don't know what DPP is going to do as the applicant. So we submit a CUP minor because that's the instructions. And then they may hold a hearing, and if they do, they will send notices to all the neighbors, and they will hold a hearing, the Fosse building. So when that, if and when that happens, we'll all be informed, and then there'll be opportunity to present testimony to DPP. DPP also listens to the neighborhood board, of course, and we did the presentation last month. But DPP's interest is in protecting the community and having a use that's reasonable to the setting and has protections for the neighbors. And that's typically buffering and traffic management. And when I say buffering, I mean you got walls, you got topography, you got vegetation. And as you saw in some of the previous slides, there's quite a bit of buffering given the large size of the facility. So we do a lot of work with churches and groups like that where the space is much tighter. And I'll also point out, you know, like with the church setting, typically there are a lot of churches in the communities that are right next to houses, and they're meeting every Sunday and often Wednesdays and Bible study other times. In this situation, we're talking about, 90% of the evenings, the only people on the site are going to be security people. So I just want to put that context out there. I can understand that there are concerns, and DPP will be responsive to those concerns. And they may, it's called a conditional use permit. There will be conditions associated with it.
So is there a 300 passenger, guest cap? And if so, how many nights?
The
per month?
request, the permit application requests up to 300, I think it's 12 times a year. Yep, 12 times a year. And then there's graduated levels of numbers of guests. So that's the maximum, but then you step down from there.
So it's 300 once a month. And the 300 could be broken down into categories.
Right, yeah. So there's 300 people per that day or that event or meeting or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's 12 times a year. Now, it could be that it happens on a Friday and a Saturday once, and then it doesn't happen the next month at all. It's just going to be 12 times a year.
But is it broken down by X number for tours, X number for evening events, X number for meetings? Or could you do all three at one time? All 300?
Depends on how the permit is written, what the conditions are.
What was the application written?
The application was that you potentially could do multiple events in a day, but there's logistical reasons why you probably won't do it that way. So there's physical constraints. And when we write permits like this, when we write applications like this is just one of many in a similar vein that have been done around the island. And we're looking for flexibility because the operator of the facility, their needs change over the years. This permit will be in place for a long time, presumably. The existing one's been there for 25 years. So you need flexibility. And so you say, well, I want to be able to operate up to 5 or 6 days a week, when in reality, you may only really operate 4 days a week on most weeks. But one of those weeks, maybe you operate on a Monday and a Tuesday and a Wednesday, but then the next week you operate on a Friday and Saturday instead. So the request is often more broad, but the reality is usually much lower than, but you have that the reason it's written largely is to provide flexibility. And that's a standard approach in these kind of permits.
All right. Thank you for that, Jim. Appreciate it. And then Rich, I believe you had one more thing you wished to.
I was just going to say, well, I'm a diplomatic nut. I mean, being involved with the East-West Center and the Consulate Corps, and I know we want Shangri-La to be available for, diplomatic meetings, Consulate Corps meetings, like the meeting they're trying to arrange for Prime Minister Kevin Rudd at the Shangri-La. So, I mean, I'm willing to make a motion to approve the CU, the CU application. I mean, I'm just wondering, is there any way to, have a meeting of the minds between Shangri-La and the Papu Circle community? Could Papu Circle community, kind of put together a committee to meet with Shangri-La and, try to come to, a meeting of the minds where, the things can be arranged, the best for Hawaii, the best for world peace, the best for the improvement and advancement of the Pacific Asia community. I'm kind of thinking, trying to think if there's an enlightened solution where everybody could be happy and we could make sure that there aren't, 20 security cars don't go up the hill bringing the president of the United States and the, and the president of China, for a major summit at Shangri-La. I'm being a little bit silly here, but you see what I'm getting at.
Saying that people are not enlightened.
No, I mean, we're all enlightened, but we can all be more enlightened than we actually are.
Okay. All right.
I didn't make a motion. Encouraging an enlightened meeting of the mind.
Because you've already spoken. If it was in response to a conversation, I could allow it, but since you've already spoken, I can't. Jim, I do have one quick. Where are you, Jim? On your technical expertise, I do have a question for you. If the CUP is granted and Shangri-La violates it, and let's say throws large parties and is a nuisance in the neighborhood, what would DPP, in your professional experience, what would they do about this? How would they act?
Well, DPP, I'll tell you what they tell me. DPP is a complaint-driven agency. So if they receive complaints, they're compelled to respond. And they diligently pursue complaints. And they work with their permit holders to confirm compliance with the permits. And if they need to, they can modify the permit. So there's always a condition in the permit that the director of DPP, should the need arise, can modify the permit. And so if there are events that occur and it's a consistent problem, then that would probably happen.
So they can revoke the permit or modify it in a way that sort of.
Yeah, usually a permit's not revoked unless there's like just an egregious violation. But like I said, there's a clause in the permit that allows DPP director usually on the advice of their staff to make modifications to the conditions under which facilities operated.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Just trying to figure out the guidelines here. Aloha.
Yeah, and I'd like to agree with Rich that maybe the best thing is to have Ben, if you and your team could call a neighborhood meeting, just with your neighbors and sit down, not a pauhana, but an actual working meeting to, discuss the CUP. And maybe if they had more details on the CUP, make sure that so that they can, the application, I mean, maybe that they can make a better decision. And also regarding some of these changes that happened over the last year, if you can determine what those changes were that made them so upset and, resolve those in this neighborhood board meeting as well, that would be great, I think.
Okay. Well. We can postpone the vote. The request has been made to have the vote this evening. So first, just in terms of process and transparency, so somebody on the board would have to raise the issue. We would like to bring the vote. Somebody else would have to second it, and then everybody would have to vote on the board. So that is the way that the process on this side works. So if somebody raises the issue and then somebody seconds, the vote has to occur. But if nobody raises and nobody seconds, then it's a postponement.
I move that we postpone this until they have the meeting.
We don't have to move to postpone it. We just won't make the motion tonight to give, Shangri-La and the neighbors a chance to get together.
Anson
Yeah.
here is telling me that in terms of moving things forward, a vote to postpone would be better in terms of bureaucracy.
I second it.
Okay. All in favor to postpone, please raise your hands. All opposed? Oh, Brian?
That was an aye.
Aye. Colin?
I'll abstain. Abstain.
Okay. Abstain. All opposed? Abstain. So the motion to postpone this conversation has passed. In terms of moving forward, Ben, Jim, I suggest that y'all reach out to the residents at Black Point, Papu Circle. Thank you. And we can begin in dialogue with that. If there's anything that the neighborhood board can do to assist in this conversation, please let us know. We are honestly just happy that you guys are having conversation, that people are involved, people are passionate about this. I love it. All right, so motion to postpone.
Can we keep this on the agenda for next month?
Absolutely, yes, we can. I will bring that back. In a very different avenue, liquor license notice. Sip, Shop, and Sparkle at Kahala Mall. This is an informational notice of the event at Kahala Mall from 5 to 7 p.m. Hosted by Honolulu Magazine. So if anybody is looking to engage in a little bit of liqueur and shopping, please find yourself over at Kahala Mall November 8th, 5 to 7 p.m. DOE facility we've already discussed. Community events and traffic notices. Is Taylor Urban here online? So November 9th, 2025, there will be the Val Nolasco Half Marathon and 5K. Finishing and starting at Kapiolani Park, portions of the course go through Kahala Waiʻalae and Course and maps have already been shared online. Expect some temporary lane closure and no parking controls in the Diamond Head Kahala area. For anybody who has any concerns or questions, please reach out to Shaka Racing. Their contact information has been listed on the agenda and will be shared online. If you could drop that in the chat, please. Up next, notices an ongoing public input opportunities. The Honolulu Charter Commission is doing their 10-year review. So any proposals and input are welcomed. The deadline for that is Friday, November 7th. Let's see, up next, our regular meeting Thursday, November 20th at 7 p.m. back here. We appreciate all of you showing up and being so engaged in the community. It's so nice to have people who actually care about what's going on. Honestly, it gladdens my heart. So if we found us enthralling, if you guys enjoyed what was going on tonight, please come back again next month, get involved, get engaged in the diplomatic process. Other than that, do I have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second? Motion passes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for showing up this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we will see you again next month. Thank you.